All right, so I am very honored to introduce our next guest speaker, Amy Harmon. She is a nurse navigator at Jordan Valley Breast Cancer Center. She's been in the OBGYN field for 23 years. Women's health always been her focus. She currently has been in the breast cancer world for 3 years. She really enjoys being able to assist patients as they're faced with cancer diagnosis. She's very empowering. I've been able to talk with her a little bit tonight. She's got great ideas. She's really great with people and with patients. The highlight of her job is running into cancer survivors that continue on with their life so she can build strong connections with them in their ongoing adventures. So it is my pleasure to introduce Amy Harmon. Thank you.
I'm super tall. I had a Madame Alexander doll. I'm going to go home and find her. That's what I got out of the whole thing was, oh my gosh, she got a Madame Alexander doll out of that. That was almost, those dolls are pretty cool. Not quite worth cancer, but that's pretty cool. And I'm glad we took a break because I didn't want to follow you. You were so inspiring. Thank you for everything you said. That was just, I'm glad we took a break because I needed a break. It was very, very wonderful to hear your story.
Try that.
Okay. I'll try not to be so darn tall.
If it falls off,
Then we're good. Okay. I'm a mom. I can yell. I'm good at that. So I am a nurse navigator, and oftentimes when I tell people what I do, they laugh, and they're like, oh my gosh, you're a navigator. I'm like, that's a real thing. That's my job. It's not a joke. They're like, okay. But what a nurse navigator is, we navigate, kind of like your car navigates, hopefully a lot better. I decided to navigate here today, just to, in case there were any wrecks. And the way I looked at the way it wanted me to get here, it was ridiculous. I'm like, you're kidding me. Why are you taking me this far away to bring me back where I want to go? So we strive to be better at navigation than our car systems are because sometimes those are pretty far off. I did do women's health. I did OBGYN for 23 years. So I went from babies and joy almost all the time to cancer. And my first 3 months, I wondered what I had done and why did I do this? This was the worst choice of my life. I can't do this. Bringing babies in the world was great. When it was sad, it was extremely sad. It was sad, so sad you really couldn't get over it, and you never do. So my first 3 months of navigating was really, really hard. It was hard to go from joy to being Nurse Grim Reaper and being the one to tell patients that they have a cancer. That was really hard for me to learn how to do that. It was hard to go home and let that go and somehow still live your life when you knew the sadness that someone was facing. I have done navigation long enough now, almost 4 years. I've been there long enough that I know that there are survivors, and that's what inspires me to keep doing what I'm doing and keep helping both men and women through this process. I navigate breast cancer, and we navigate both men and women. So I'm grateful that I have a chance to be here. I'm honored to be here. I'm in awe of the survivors. You guys are amazing. People often say, how can you do that job? I would hate your job. I would hate it. And, I look at it in a different way. We're finding something that was already in a body. We're finding something. We're now aware of it, something that was there, something that was not going away, something that, given time, could be devastating and life-threatening to a patient. We're taking that situation, and I'm able to take those patients by the hand and kind of get them from point A to point B to point C to point D until they've survived and into survivorship. And I'm able to educate my patients. I think it's so important for patients to know what's happening with their bodies. I run into women occasionally, and it's unfortunate they sometimes don't know what's happening with their cancer. They maybe don't know what grade their cancer is. They don't have a lot of information. So I think information is power, and to be able to know more about what's happening in your body down to the cellular level is so important because it is your body and it's the only one you have, and there's not a replacement for it. And you need to learn what's happening with your cancer in your body and what options are out there, because this is your make it or break it moment. You know, this is important, and you need to know what's happening with you and your cancer. I feel it's a privilege to be able to be with patients during this time in their life. I get to come into a patient's life at probably the worst time in their life. Just before coming here tonight, I had to tell a woman she has breast cancer. And it was devastating for her. I could tell by the phone. Every Thursday and Friday as I get my results, I call my patients and I let them know that unfortunately they have a breast cancer. And it's hard. I feel your pain. It's hard to be on the other side of that phone call. I know it's hard to be on your end of the phone call. It's hard to give that news to patients, but I let them know right away. You know, we're going to meet, and I'm going to give you Breast Cancer 101, and I'm going to tell you exactly what's happening with your cancer, and we're going to answer all your questions, and I'm going to take you by the hand, and I'll show you where your appointments are scheduled and what you need to do. You'll just need to follow me and trust me that I'll help you with this, and you're going to make it through this. Luckily, breast cancer is not a death sentence for women any longer. It used to be. It is not very often a death sentence any longer, which is great news. Cancer changes your life. It changes your family's life. I've had many instances where we've had survivor dinners where we've invited our survivors for the last 6 months to come and attend a dinner, and they kind of get a chance to stand up and talk through what they've gone through as they've been diagnosed. I would say a resounding theme with most of these patients is that their life is better because they've had their cancer. And that's hard to comprehend, that your life could be better because of cancer. Life has different meaning to them, just like I've heard expressed. You don't look at a sunset or a sunrise the same way. I've not been through cancer myself. I've seen many, many patients. I've had family members go through cancer. I've not been through this myself, but I feel like I have a different appreciation for life because of being able to be there and watch these patients fight for their life and be able to continue doing what they want to do with their life. I was asked about some things that can help people during their cancer journey. Speaking as a non-cancer person, I think one great thing that I think is very helpful for patients is support groups, whether that be an official support group at your hospital or if you join a specific support group for your specific type of cancer. My daughter and I have type 1 diabetes, and you know, sometimes when people find out things, they will say really dumb things. What they mean is they love you and they support you and they feel for you and they want you to know of their love. But I think with cancer, and probably with my daughter when she was diagnosed with diabetes, she would come home from school and say, "Mom, kids say I'm lucky that I have diabetes because I get to eat candy whenever I want." And she was like, "They're just so dumb. Why would they say that to me?" And I said, "Well, they don't understand. They don't have diabetes. They don't know what that feels like." And I often tell my patients, you need to kind of be prepared because when you get your cancer diagnosis, you're going to be flooded with a lot of love. And sometimes it's hard to get that much love, especially for someone who's quiet and would rather give the love to someone else. It seems most of my cancer patients are very good people, and they would rather be on the other end of giving and doing for other people rather than receiving. Support groups offer a great opportunity for patients to be in a room where people are not going to say dumb things like, "You're so lucky that you get to eat candy whenever you want." When you're in a support group, you're talking to people who know how you feel. They've been through what you've been through. Their spouses know how your spouse is feeling, how helpless they feel. They know the children there will bond with other children and be able to get support for each person's unique experience for that family's cancer. And I do believe that cancer is not just for the patient, it affects the entire family. I also think what helps is to take things one day at a time. I was divorcing a little while ago, and I started panicking and thinking, well, what do we do at Thanksgiving? What do we do at Christmas? What will I do if I don't have my kids on these days? That's something I can't cope with. I can't handle thinking about 6 months from now. And someone told me during that time, can you handle the next 10 minutes? And I said, well, yeah, I can do 10 minutes. I know what I'm doing in 10 minutes. I'll be fine. And they said, okay, handle your life 10 minutes at a time until you're done with that day. And then increase that. You can probably start to handle things 1 day at a time, then maybe a week at a time, then maybe a month at a time. So I think it's important for cancer patients to kind of chunk things off, and instead of go, oh my gosh, how am I gonna do all of these things? Take it a minute by minute, take it 10 minutes at a time until you feel like you can make it through this. Because there is an end to treatment, there is an end, and there are survivors. It's just so hard to picture that when you're newly diagnosed. So I encourage people to kind of remember that and to take their time and take things slowly and try and remember that they need time to adjust to what's happening to them and to their bodies and to their families. It's also okay to be sad for a while. You know, I'll give you a secret. Your caregivers sometimes almost feel better when you have your sad moment. If you're strong the whole time and you're just, okay, I can do this. It's okay to have moments. Sometimes patients feel guilty if they break down and they're not being strong. It doesn't mean you're not strong. It doesn't mean that you're not going to beat this. It doesn't mean that you don't have courage. It just means you have cancer, and cancer sucks. And it's okay. I'll tell my patients now, a day or two, staying in your pajamas, in bed, watching Netflix, crying, that's totally fine. But if it gets to be 2 weeks of doing that same repetitive actions, that's probably a little too long. And we probably need to talk about some other things that can help you. So give yourself time, give yourself a break. It's okay to take time to deal with that. Could I have everyone that's had a cancer diagnosis in the room raise their hand just so I can kind of see what we're looking at here in the room? So you guys probably know, by your story, I can tell cancer does not come at an opportune moment. Very rarely does cancer come at a great time. Sometimes cancer comes when your spouse is currently battling cancer, and I've had that happen to patients. Sometimes cancer comes when you've just lost your father to pancreatic cancer. I have a patient that we just diagnosed last week. Recently lost her father to pancreatic cancer, and 2 days after I let her know about her diagnosis, she was going to the funeral for her best friend that died from brain cancer. Sometimes cancer comes at a really lousy time in patients' life. I would say it almost always does. Sometimes we'll biopsy a patient and I just cross my fingers and I think, I've learned a little bit about this patient. Please don't let her have cancer. She or he, they already have so much happening in their lives right now. Or sometimes things are becoming really good in their life right now, and this timing just really, really stinks. I've had patients who are homeless. Cancer does not discriminate. It comes to all of us, whether we are rich or poor, whether we have support. I have had cancer come to patients who are alone. They may have children that are estranged, and they are alone. They really don't have anyone with them sometimes when they're diagnosed with a cancer. The Needs Beyond Medicine program has been so great in what I do because I can offer this great program to these patients. I've had patients before that have told me that they can't go see the surgeon for their first consultation because it's a $40 copayment. And that's their allotment for groceries that whole month. And they wouldn't be able to do both. If they went and saw the surgeon, they wouldn't be able to buy any food. I've had patients that don't have a home, that are homeless when they're diagnosed with a cancer. And it's so great to be able to offer them something like this program and to let them know that the amount that a patient receives may not seem much to some, But to some patients, if $40 is your amount of groceries for the entire month, and someone is able to award you $250, for that patient, she can see a way that she can then go to her doctor's visits and maybe buy even more food and be able to make it through the first part of this cancer. So I'm grateful for wonderful programs out there that make it so that I have things that I can offer to patients, and I've had patients benefit from this program, and I'm grateful to be able to take some of your time and be here and celebrate this wonderful program that's able to help my patients out. I'm grateful to the survivors. You help me keep smiling and help me keep doing my job. Like you said, my favorite thing is sometimes I get lost. I'll go walking down the hall to the cancer center and I'll just run into 5 or 6 of my survivors. They might just be there for a checkup. They're done with their cancer. And I go wandering for a good hour or so. I don't know that my hospital loves that, but it's so great for me to run into these people and put my arms around them and be able to bond with them again. We develop a bond that is so strong. I remember my patients' names, and they're so important to me, and I'm so grateful that I get to be there during this time in their life, and I'm grateful that there are survivors, and I applaud you.